Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and as always, welcome back to yet another Mortal Kombat video. Today, doing yet another history of retrospective and breakdown of yet another cult-beloved character, the infamous and extremely elusive Hornbuckle. Now, Hornbuckle is a really weird character for me to cover on the channel, as there are certain bits of this character which are indeed canon, and definitely a lot imposed upon him by fans, functioning as more of an Easter egg that would later take life in the original timeline of games. And this is actually a character that I've never actually talked about on the channel, but seeing as we've been talking about the cult-beloved characters that have taken shape, like Chrome and Floyd, it really did feel like now was the perfect time to talk about Hornbuckle, as it's been a character that slipped out of my gaze time and time again. So today we'll be talking about the very peculiar case of Hornbuckle, the mystery surrounding his name, as well as how he's ever loosely tied to that of Onaga, as it's heavily believed and strongly implied that he is quite pivotal to that of the 3D era of games. But before we do begin everyone, if you like what we do here and wish to see more, please don't forget to subscribe as well as give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any other cult-beloved character suggestions, please put them down in the comments below, as I'd love to hear what you have to say, and it always allows me to take a look at things that otherwise might not be as explored. So, with that said, let's jump right into things. Now, Hornbuckle would actually make his first ever canonical debut in Mortal Kombat 2, but the circumstances surrounding his character are particularly strange, because whilst he does not appear as a playable character in that game, he would be one of the many fighters participating in the background of the pit, more specifically battling against Blaze, a character that would become pivotal later down the line, but we'll touch on that a tad bit later. Now, of course, one of the more distinguishable features about Hornbuckle is that's kind of like the ninjas of the game, where they were all different color palette swap versions of each other. Hornbuckle, in that regard, is actually a color palette swap of Liu Kang, swapping out the red for that of green. And if you know anything about arcade culture at the time, is that fan input of color palette swap ninjas was super popular, as of course such rumors would go on to lead to the creation of Ermac, and during the NRS saga, Scarlet. Color palette swaps of characters kind of became the norm in the series, and whilst it didn't always lead to real fruition, it's very evident that it did have an impact in some way, shape and form, especially on the fandom side of things. And this was no different for this color palette swap of Liu Kang, because kind of similar to that of Ermac, the name Hornbuckle wasn't actually something given to this NPC by John Tobias or Ed Boon, but instead one dubbed and given to by fans, much like Ermac in that regard. However, the naming convention behind this wasn't without purpose, because in Mortal Kombat 2, there were two secret fights in the game, one with Smoke and one with Jade. And when you would encounter them, they would say the phrase Hornbuckle who, leading to many fans theorizing and tying this line to that of the color palette swap Liu Kang. But in reality, the line itself is actually an Easter egg to one of the developers on the team, Leanne Hornbuckle. Thus, to say that this rumor ran a little bit wild would be an understatement, but such naming conventions and ideas wouldn't be too out the norm for Mortal Kombat, or too weird for that matter, as fans also dubbed Blaze at the time Torch, so keep that in mind. Now, from a lore, story and narrative perspective, very little is known or explored with Hornbuckle in the canon, at least not directly. He would have absolutely no overall impact on that game, as the somewhat significance of him would later come up during the 3D era, so his participation, time and involvement during this installment is at best simply relegated to that of a cameo role. However, he would gain some real significance later down the line, during the events of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, where he strongly foreshadowed and hinted at through Blaze's bio, which does say the following here. The mysterious outworld elemental known as Blaze had been long on a quest throughout the realm. During his quest, he was ambushed on a bridge by an ancient sect of holy men still serving the long-dead Dragon King. The holy men enslaved him through mystic incantations and forced him to protect the last known Great Dragon Egg. For many years, he has remained submerged beneath the molten rock of the incubation chamber as guardian of the egg. Now, as information goes through character bios, this is a pretty big bit of lore for Hornbuckle, as it really does reinforce and show that the return of Onaga was truly something in the works for a very long time, and that Hornbuckle himself is an acolyte and servant of Onaga. Up to what extent though, we don't truly know, as he's never directly addressed by name in both Blaze's Deadly Alliance and Deception bios, but of the information we do have here, it gives us enough of an idea here to paint the purpose behind Hornbuckle's creation, that he was a firm believer of Outworld's original king and wished to see him return. Sadly, beyond this, we don't actually know if he was like a dragon priest, or simply a hardcore devoted zealot of the group, but the significance of his ties to Onaga really can't be overlooked, setting up the stack of dominoes that would slowly tumble over into the Dragon King's return. Now, even with that in mind, unfortunately, following the events of Deception, Hornbuckle would more or less completely disappear. Because despite Armageddon having a vast and very wide roster, he's actually absent from that game, yet to make a true canonical playable debut. So Hornbuckle's always been one of those characters that has slipped through the cracks, and Mortal Kombat 2 wouldn't be the only time he's appeared in the series, as he would have yet another small and very minor cameo role in Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, once again a prevalent figure in the background of the pit stage, as the events of Shaolin Monks itself is a really soft retelling of Mortal Kombat 2, so it does make sense. And the models we do have in the background here isn't of Hornbuckle battling Blaze, but it's actually two Hornbuckles, with one of them covered in flame. And of course, the most distinguishable feature amongst these two is that they aren't direct color palette swaps of Liu Kang, and do rock a really weird porno mustache. Don't know what they were thinking there. Now, despite being an Easter egg in Mortal Kombat 2 in two different timelines, he's been completely absent from the reboot trilogy onwards, no longer featuring in the background of the pit stage in Mortal Kombat 9 as well as X. And as for the new era, well, he's yet to make an appearance at all for that matter. However, with the return of Onaga seemingly on the horizon right now, it is very well possible that this character could resurface. But again, up to what capacity we'll never truly know, as he has by all intents and purposes always eluded the public eye, feeling like more of a legend to the series than an actual character. So that said everyone, this has been it for the history of Hornbuckle, and I do hope you have enjoyed this video, because Hornbuckle has always been one of those characters that you always hear more of than actually see, and it is for very good reason, as he's yet to be officially playable in any timeline, despite having some really cool and narrative significance to that of the 3D era. Something clearly inserted much later down the line, probably without the true intent to do anything with the character. So I do think that's a really nice cool thing there. For now everyone though, that has been it for me, and just a quick reminder once more, if you do have any other character suggestions, please put them down below, as I'm having a lot of fun kind of talking about these cult beloved characters, and do have a pretty big video next week planned for what actually happened to the Mythology series in Mortal Kombat, so please do keep an eye out for that. For now though everyone, that's been it for me. So as always, stay strong, stay well, and I'll catch you in the next one.